Good morning and welcome to episode 58 of the Jaguar Report podcast. My name's Gus Logue. I'm joined by my co-host John Shipley. Wow, what a week it's been, John. It's been 4 whole days since we recorded. this has been like it feels like a big week to me because it's a weird week since the team has been like away from the city and we haven't gone to the stadium for any pressers or practices or anything like that. But at the same time, I feel like this game against the Bills in Week 5 have a bigger magnitude than the Week 2 game against the Chiefs. You agree?
Oh, 100%. Like the week 2 game, like it felt like it was more like a revenge game type storyline. Whereas this is I think a better benchmark test of how far are they from really competing? Because it's no question, the Bills are to me the best team in football. Through the first month of the season.
Yeah.
The week 1 clunker against the Jets was literally just Josh Allen kept throwing it to the Jets defenders.
It's just Jordan White had 3 interceptions. Without those 3 plays, the Bills have been looked unstoppable.
Yeah, you look at it's hilarious. Every graph EPA you see on Twitter, they're literally top right corner and everything.
Way up there.
CB reach, way up there. So I mean, they're definitely. I think they're a better team than when the Jags played them in 2021, and I've done my best to put that entire year of my life deep into the confines of my soul. But I remember that Bills team, they were kind of cooking when they came to Jacksonville. They had a ton of hype then, and Allen had a ton of MVP hype, and I think they're better now than they were that game.
I agree. I think Allen has kind of figured out since that time, how to take what the defense is giving him. And he didn't really – it seemed like he hadn't learned that lessons or he had forgotten that lesson in week 1 against the Jets when he threw those 3 interceptions. And, they were all just so boneheaded. There's, no explanation for them really other than, he was just, on a permanent heat check. But, since then he's kind of, cooled off on that heat check but spiked his efficiency. And, last week against the Dolphins, the Dolphins put up 70 in week 3, so it seemed like they were the best team ever. And then the Bills, quickly silenced that, and a big reason is that Josh Allen is just so good at taking what the defense gives him and taking the underneath stuff and staying efficient until the defense kind of creeps up, and then he's able to hit the shots to Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis. So I think we've this version of Josh Allen or the week 4 version of Josh Allen is the only thing that could be in the same tier as Patrick Mahomes. He's man lights out.
No question. I think they're clearly the 2 best quarterbacks in the NFL. Even if Peg Leg Burrow was healthy, I don't think
Burrow, that's good.
I don't think he's in the same even healthy in the same realm as what you've seen from Allen lately. So I mean, and when you compound the fact that he has star players on the offense with him, and he's not mostly doing it himself like Patrick Mahomes in week 2, that's what makes it an even bigger matchup. So I'm with you. I think it's probably the biggest game on the Jaguars first half of their schedule, before things start getting real. And I mean, if anything, they're probably lucky that this isn't an early game, regular season game. Every game obviously counts the same, but you'd much rather play the Bills now than if you're fighting for a spot at the end of the year and you need basically to win out and you see them on the schedule.
Yeah, that's true. Just because the early beginning of the season is a little bit flukier.
Yeah, no doubt. Just as fluky as us hitting 58 episodes. I can't stop looking at that. I can't stop looking at that number, dude. I cannot stop looking at that number. God,
good That's a good number. Number of the week.
And I mean, I also want to say with Josh Allen, I consider myself, friend, son, soon to be husband, journalist. Above all else, I'm a take haver. I'm a takesman. And I had many takes about Josh Allen, both when he was coming out of college and when he got to the NFL. And I just want to say he is a clear example of, I don't care if I'm wrong. It does not matter, dude. He's awesome, bro. He is awesome. I thought he was going to be terrible. And he's literally every Pete Prisco-esque tweet you saw from people being nah, I don't care if he sucks now. He's going to be amazing that everybody, including myself, dunked on over and over and over. He's awesome, dude. He's proven every single person.
He's so fun, honestly. He's he can do anything. It's great. He just puts on a superhero suit. let's get into it. Let's start. Do you want to do Josh Allen versus defense, or go in order and start with Jags offense?
Yeah, man. Let's go Josh Allen versus Josh Allen. I think that's like, I mean, after the last time they played, like that was the biggest difference. Like, well, that was a 9-6 game, I think. So, like, the Jaguars offense did nothing. It was literally Josh Allen came up with like 3 of the biggest plays of his career. Like an and a half sack when the Bills were trying to get the ball downfield, fumble recovery, and then an interception. That it's so funny when you go back and watch it. It's like the perfect Josh Allen play. He has like 2 dudes barreling down on him. He's drifting backwards in the pocket like 10 yards. Instead of taking a sack, he just throws it out there. It was the perfect play to happen inside of Jacksonville Football Stadium.
There you go.
Awesome. Yeah, it was. So I normally, at least in the past like years, I feel like I think it's Seth Walder with ESPN would always tweet out like double team rates among edges and interior defensive linemen. I don't think I've seen it so far this year, so I don't know what the double team rates really are. But I feel like any smart offense moving forward, like you look at the Jaguars like production on defense. I mean, double team Josh Allen. Like at least throw as much protection at him as you can, because you look at the rest of the Jaguars defensive roster, they don't have another player who is, who has double-digit pressures this year. Like Trayvon Walker, 8 pressures through 2 weeks. Will Robson-Harris is their best interior pass rusher, but he's still like 35th among interior defensive linemen in pass rush win rate. And then, I think the Jaguars have 4 interior defensive linemen who are in the bottom 30 in pass rush win rate. It'd be 5 if you include a Tyler Lacey, who is a smaller sample size, but if you include him, they have 3 defensive tackles who PFF literally has as not recording a single pass rush win this year, which is, wild. So you look at that. You look at, obviously, Yasir Abdullah is still, he's a 5th-round rookie. He's still coming along. And then Caleb Von Chason, he's about produced, what I think most people really expected. Josh Allen's the only guy on that defensive line that's consistently winning. So I wonder this week if Buffalo kind of starts a trend of like just throwing everything like they have protection wise at Josh Allen and begging anybody else to beat them.
Yeah. I almost feel like this week doesn't matter as much protection wise or pass rush wise as a lot of other weeks do, because I think the Jags are going to do something similar this week that they did in week 2 against Mahomes, where I feel like Mahomes wasn't under really like a ton of duress in week 2. But the Jags did a really good job of just like containing the pocket and making sure he didn't like do a bunch of like scramble drills and pick up first downs or kind of like heave passes downfield from outside of the pocket.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to see a similar approach this week where like it might like seem frustrating at times that like the pocket isn't really collapsing on Josh Allen, but I think it's like almost going to be by design that they kind of like collapse the pocket slowly and like with intent and just like make sure every like possible escape route for Josh Allen is clogged, so that like when Josh Allen like gets off his first and second read and then is like kind of in scramble mode or escape mode or whatever, then the Jaguars will be prepared to kind of like turn that mode into mistakes for the offense and turnovers rather than mistakes for the defense and explosive plays. So
yeah, no, absolutely. And I think like if you're looking at the defense's like path to winning this week, like you said, like it has to start with turnovers. Like hoping that Josh Allen, even though he's playing insane right now, he still has his at times golden retriever tendencies in terms of decision making, and hope that he just kind of gets you, a pass here or there. I feel like the Jaguars have mostly like taken advantage of those opportunities this year. I think Darius Williams dropped a pick last week. Andre Sisco like half dropped a pick against the Chiefs. It was a really high pass. It was a drop.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. I would still say it was a drop, but
yeah,
I guess it's tough.
You're a tough grader. Look at you.
I mean, it was both the Darius Williams one, and the Andre Sisco one were both like 2-handed drops. So
I think I agree with you that the Darius Williams one was a drop. I think the ball basically
they were both objective drops.
I think the ball basically fitting in Darius Williams' face mask. It was so thrown right at him. Counts as a drop if he doesn't catch it. Yeah. No, I mean, so like like it's not a game plan to say I hope they throw us some turnovers, but I feel
Mhm.
like if you're looking at like a great game script for the Jaguars, like to win or at least have success on defense, like that's the one.
I agree. I think stopping the run is going to go a big way because even though we think of the Bills as like more of a passing offense with Josh Allen's big arm and then like Steph Diggs and Gabe Davis being good downfield threats, their run game has been like pretty solid this year. I don't have their like efficiency numbers pulled up, but they've been like a pretty good team on the run, which has kind of helped them just maintain offensive efficiency overall.
They're second in rush EPA. Like they're like
Yeah, wow.
yeah, third in pass, second in rush. Like they're an extremely balanced, offense.
So Mike Caldwell was asked on Thursday on the importance of taking away the run game from against Buffalo on Sunday. And he said, well, that's the plan all the time to keep our teams an advantage in third and longs, second and longs. Uh, so that's what I did a film room on Wednesday or Thursday morning was like Mike Caldwell's defensive philosophy is like stop the run, but more so win on early downs so that you can get like second and long and third and long situations against the defense. So I think it's another thing to look out for is like how Jacksonville's run defense does against Buffalo's underrated run offense. Because if they can kind of like stop James Cook and the rushing offense for Buffalo, then it'll be a lot easier to stop Josh Allen on third downs.
Oh no doubt, and I do feel like a part of that is this is probably the best Bills like offensive line that they've had, like Sean McDermott.
Torrance, such a good pick.
Yeah, dude. I mean, he's been. I don't think he's given up a sack yet this year. I think he's given up like 6 pressures all year. He's been
Mm-hmm.
fantastic. So I think that you obviously look at their offensive line. I think that's a big part of it. But the Jaguars, they're still right up there among the best run defenses. With the Browns, the Falcons, the Titans, the Ravens, the Seahawks somehow, and they're still one of like the truly elite run defenses too. The first couple weeks, which I mean, you hear those pressure stats I rattled off a minute ago. I mean, you would hope they're good at run defense because it sounds like they're all run stoppers on the line, which it is. And I have seen some of those Angelo Blackson reps. I think it's the men that you mentioned. That's the good stuff. And obviously the game stats report already came out that they won't have the once moot. So I think you can expect more and more of those heavy looks. So I agree with you. I definitely it doesn't make sense like to say let's sell out against the run against Josh Allen, but I definitely do think that the Jaguars are going to come with the mentality that on those early downs, like basically their chance to winning is try to win on first and second down and then get a advantageous third down and hope that Josh Allen, basically still Josh Allen in terms of turnover worthy plays. According to PFF, he's 8th in turnover worthy play percentage.
Mm-hmm.
And Desmond Ritter is 1, so you kind of saw the Jaguars take advantage of that last year.
Yeah.
I mean, no other quarterback the Jaguars have played this year is in the top 8 other than Ritter. So you saw them have some success with opportunities. Then I'm with you. I think that's definitely probably their plan is really focus on the run on the early downs, then third down, hope for some turnovers.
I'm interested to see what they do against Stephon Diggs, especially on late downs, like whether they bracket him, whether they don't do anything special, just because he had such a good game last week. He had I think 6 catches and 3 touchdowns. So I feel like one strategy the Jags could do is like the old Belichick strategy where he puts his single best quarterback on like the offense's second best receiver. So it'd be Tyson Campbell on Gabe Davis. And then you put Darius Williams matched up against Stephon Diggs with like a safety over the top with bracket coverage. Like in theory, especially considering like the sizes of those cornerbacks and receivers, that would make sense. But I feel like I haven't really seen a lot of like bracketing from Caldwell on film, so I don't know if that would happen. But I'm just interested to see the Stephon Diggs effect.
Like I honestly feel like when we talk about like the Jaguars like shattering guys, like it's worth remembering like just going off the data, like they're like barely top 30 in man coverage percentage, but they're top 5 in zone coverage. So even when it's 1-on-1, it's still they're still kind of aided a bit by the zone coverage. But I don't know. I kind of feel like the Jaguars are the kind of team who kind of maybe it's not a great comparison because the Raiders didn't have a good number two, but what we saw last year where they basically just had Tyson travel with Devontae, and maybe it's recency bias because the Dolphins specifically didn't do that, and that was a big storyline since the game. Like they didn't have their top corner travel with Stephon Diggs, and he was like abusing their basically their number two and their number three cornerback. So
Yeah.
I personally, I think you probably see Campbell shadow him. I feel like this is a week to do it, but Gabe Davis against Darius Williams is such a weird matchup. It's that Darius Williams is, I think I don't know what his listed height is. I think it's 5'9"ish, 5'10". Gabe Davis is 6'2", so he has several inches on him. But I mean, you saw that last week, of course. But Gabe Davis is also one of the more vertical based receivers in the NFL. He's a go route merchant. Basically, they don't ask him to run many more routes than that. So you're probably going to see Darius Williams versus Gabe Davis downfield. With the help of his safeties at times, but at times one-on-one, like you saw Matt Collins and Darius Williams last week. I think that's probably the matchup to watch, honestly.
I think Andre Cisco might be the most important player in the game just because we just talked about potential one-on-one matchups, but chances are those deep downfield shots are all going to come with at least one of Rayshon Jenkins or Andre Cisco being a deep safety. So I think as we said earlier, he had the drop against Kansas City, dropped interception, but he also had a pick against Kansas City, had a pick last week.
Both really good plays too. It's not like a dude's just throwing him the ball, and he's returning it like a freaking punt. They've both been objectively good coverage plays.
Right. So he's I feel like he has to get a turnover in order for the Jaguars to have a chance.
Has he been? He's been one of their two best defenders this year, right? It's him and Josh Allen, right?
I think relative to expectations, he's been the best defender, but I don't know if I'll, put him over Tyson Campbell and Foye Oluokun quite yet.
Really?
He's trending that way. I think he deserves to be in the conversation of all of those players as one of the best players on the defense, but
yeah,
he's been great. I don't think he's been so great that I'll put him over Foye and Tyson in 4 weeks.
Yeah, you think he's mid, basically. Go ahead and put that on a graphic.
Are you saying Tyson and Foye have been mid?
No. Look at you twisting words. You work in media for a season, and look at you. Big media Gus. Go ahead and twisting words out of context. Use my own game.
Just I was calling Andre Cisco mid.
Yeah. No,
he's been great.
No, for sure. And I think I definitely would agree with you. He's probably the key player on defense this game. It's to me, it's him and a mix of some of their interior guys just because Buffalo's gonna try to run it. And I think this game is a really good test for the secondary. I think the Jaguars are the best defense the Bills have played this year. I think the Jaguars have a better defense than the Jets. I don't know. I feel like the Jets defense this season hasn't been what maybe we've seen, the last couple of years. Part of that is, of course, going from, Aaron Rodgers to Zach Wilson after a drive. But, they were with Zach Wilson all of last year. Would you believe that the Jets are in the bottom 10 for EPA per play on defense?
No, I definitely would not have thought that.
Yeah, so I think the Jags are the best defense the Bills have played this year, and I think for the secondary especially, this is the benchmark test because Patrick Mahomes is an alien. I personally think he's the greatest quarterback of all time, the most talented guy to ever step on an NFL field at quarterback. But their receivers were also a hobbled Travis Kelce, Sky Moore, Justin Watson,
and your guy.
Who's my guy?
Tony?
Yeah. So I think this is the biggest test. Basically, if we can call this defense legit or not, we'll see this week.
Yeah, I think if the Jaguars win this weekend, then the big storyline in Jacksonville next week is going to be Mike Caldwell is that dude. Just the biggest storyline nationally, honestly, not even in Jacksonville. if the Jags win, it's going to be like Mike Caldwell is going to get his due.
Mike Caldwell head coach interviews.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
I
that
believe it.
I'm trying to think of teams that are even going to fire their coaches. Off the top of my head, Chicago, Mike Caldwell, Chicago Bears head coach.
Commanders too.
Commanders, yeah. Jack Del Rio.
Um,
Why is Jack Del Rio still in the NFL?
The Raiders, Josh McDaniels.
Yeah, not the Jaguars. Not the Jaguars. So if you had to guess, just don't assume that the Jaguars offense allows like any like self-inflicted points. How many points do you think the Jaguars defense has to hold the Bills for the offense to have a chance?
Like 16 to 23, 17 to 24. Like I kind of, not to give away the offensive segment, but I think like the Jags are scoring 20-ish regardless. And then like it's just a matter of how many the Bills score. If the Bills like have 3 turnovers and get held to 17, the Jaguars could squeak one out. But I think there's a way better chance the Bills just have like not a great day by their standards, but still a good enough day to win.
The Bills' last 3 games, 38 points, 37 points, 48 points. That is bonkers, dude. That's crazy. All right, well, we're going to cut for a break. We'll be right back to go over the Jaguars' offense versus Sean McDermott's defense. All right, Gus. Sorry, that was wanted to really hold that one. So the Jaguars' offense hasn't been, I think, what anybody expected, obviously, through the first month. The big thing we talked about last week, or I guess on Monday, was how the offense has basically become, check down, like turn Trevor into check down Charlie, get the ball out of his hands. I thought Press Taylor was really good on Thursday, like on the offense, basically saying, you and I said on Monday that it was a 17-point lead. We were basically just trying to sim till the game was over and not, really try anything dangerous. But I do feel like a part of that, even in the first half, was, them trying to play conservative. I don't think that changes this week, dude. I really don't. The Bills are second in, pressure rate per PFF, but they're also one of the lowest teams. I think that might be the lowest in blitz rate. So, like, they're dropping 7 in coverage every single play and, like, asking their front four to get pressure. And to me, and with their secondary, that just screams to me, I think this is going to be, like, a quick game week and a game where they, even though they're going against a really good front, try to get the running game going a bit because you will see a decent amount of too high safeties. Yeah.
The press quote this week on Thursday was, "We go into the game knowing that's a really good front that Atlanta had. You have a lot of calls that you just don't get to because when you're sitting on a 17-point lead and the dynamics of a game change, you play the game a little differently than when you planned to when it was 0-0 and you had 4 quarters ahead of you." So that's like a little bit – that was in response, I think, to like asking about like inside runs versus outside runs because we talked about that on Monday. It's like it's sometimes like if you're just like looking at it from like kind of a blurry perspective, like it just looks like the Jags run game is like up the gut every single time. Like it's almost like Leonard Fournette in 2017, just like hit the A gap every single first and second down. So I think the
real football.
I definitely think they're going to try to establish it this week. The Bills have allowed the highest yards per carry in the league. It's like 6.3 yards per attempt. And the next worst team is like at 5.7, I think. They've also allowed the 4th most runs of 15 or more yards. So if there's like a week for Travis Etienne to kind of like remind people that he's Travis Etienne, it's going to be this week. And I think like having a pretty good run game will go a really long way towards like both setting up easier third downs and having it just be third and manageable after like 2 efficient runs, but then also like setting stuff up off of runs. Like Press Taylor was saying in his interview how like the Evan Engram big play against the Falcons and like 1 or 2 other plays were like set up because of the run. So I think you're going to like kind of keep seeing that this week. It's going to continue being a lot of touches for Travis Etienne.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think the reason the Bills like are giving up so many yards of pop against the run is because like there's not many teams playing like with lighter boxes, like 7-man boxes than them right
Yeah.
now. I mean, according to SIS, they're 5th in usage rank in light boxes and 4th in usage rank for 2 high safety looks. So they're definitely kind of selling out for the pass and trying to get as many guys in coverage as they can. And they're basically asking their front four to win, which I really didn't think Cam Robinson was going to play this week, and it's still nothing official yet. But I mean, the way Doug Peterson talked today, saying that Cam had a good week, Walker Little had a good week at guard. It sure feels like Cam Robinson will probably play, and you'll see Walker Little at left guard. So Cam left tackle, Walker left guard, Fortner, Sheriff, Anton. Do you think that line can generate some movement in the running game against, kind of the light front that the Bills have?
Yeah, I think they'll do a better job than like Little at left tackle and then either Shalley or Ben Barch would have done, because I do think that getting like Cam back and having Cam and Little be that left side is an upgrade. But at the same time, like I don't think it's a big enough upgrade where we're going to see a lot of changes out of the passing game. Like I think the passing game will still be a lot of like quick stuff and a lot of like stuff to try to like help out their offensive line, because like it's going to be Cam's first game back and Little's first game in a long time. Maybe his first career start at left guard. Does that sound right?
I want to say he started a game in the preseason at left guard.
Okay. Well, so first regular season start.
Yeah.
So like I don't think their play calling from a like drop back perspective is going to change very much, but like I think that they're going to try to do like a lot of different stuff with the run game, because again, like Press admitted to them being like kind of vanilla in the run game last week when they had a lead, and then the Bills defense did a really good job of stopping Miami's like kind of like key run play, which is just wide zone from shotgun last week. So like, and then Miami like wasn't really able to like do anything else on the run once Buffalo shut down like their key concept. So Jacksonville's key runs concept is inside zone, but I think that they'll be able to do a good job of like also mixing in some like power and gap runs and like hitting the outside instead of the inside and kind of doing like a little bit more variety with the run game.
You made a really good point on Twitter earlier this week that they basically have not used crack toss like at all this year when you saw it a ton last year. Part of me feels like Zay Jones has not been healthy since like the first half against the Chiefs. Maybe that's why.
Ooh.
Was Zay back this week?
That's actually a really good point, because he would be like that like crack defender. Like it would either be him or Marvin most of the time, and like Calvin like this soon isn't gonna do it, and then like Kirk, like you can't really ask like that body type to do it.
No, Zay is their dude who like gets does the dirty work in the run game among the wide receivers. Like
that's a really good point, because like someone else said on Twitter, I think it was Ant said like Cam Robinson coming back, like maybe they'll have more outside stuff, and I'm like, yeah, like that's fair, because he actually is like a pretty good like puller or like just a good blocker out in space for a tackle. But like Zay Jones is another really good point that he could have arguably a bigger impact in the run game than the passing game this week.
I'm fascinated to see how Walker Little looks at left guard. Like I think he'll look good there. Like people keep asking why not Cam at left guard. I think there's like an obvious differences between Walker's skill set and Cam's skill set. Like Cam to me like isn't even built like a guard at all, and he doesn't have that like initial, in my opinion, explosiveness that I think that you need inside, because everything happens quicker inside. I think Press even said that yesterday. Like it's like one of the biggest cliches in football, but it's true. Like just because you're playing inside a guard doesn't mean you can be like a sloth. Like you have to be explosive, and I think Walker is the more explosive player. I think he can get like on top of guys with his explosiveness. I think Walker's a good fit there. But would you believe that the Bills have the second best interior pass rusher in football and he's not named Ed Oliver?
I mean, I would believe it because I knew it going into it. But a week ago, I wouldn't have guessed that now.
Yeah, I mean, Daquan Jones has been unreal this year. You know, like he almost has like a 30% win rate as a pass. Like it's literally Aaron Donald, Daquan Jones, everybody else in the NFL, among interior guys right now.
Yep.
He's been absolutely like insane. So I think that's going to be a really good matchup, for him. I think he's like look at the Bills defense, the numbers in the tape, like he's probably been their best front four guy in general this year.
Yeah.
They won't have Gregory
Rousseau.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you. But they will have Von Miller. So I mean Von will probably be on a little bit of a pitch count, but I think when you look at the Bills defense, like he's the guy I think has to be like the X factor guy this week.
Leonard Floyd also has like just casually is like eighth in like win rate as an edge this year.
He's so good.
Just all of them. Even like Ed Oliver is like, I read a really good like off-season article by Ollie Canoli, I think his name is.
I have no idea if that's right or not.
Do you know who I'm talking about?
I know who you're talking about.
It's on thereadoptional.com. He did have like a really good article about how like Ed Oliver was being like not used in the right way, but he was like doing a lot of the dirty work. And so like basically like it made me an Ed Oliver fan / appreciator.
Yeah.
They just have so many guys on that defensive line. But I think like one really interesting nugget that press dropped during that Thursday press conference was he said like they do a lot of hockey subbing with their defensive line where they'll have like pretty much all four guys like sub out at a time and then like four guys come back in. So with that, like they might do a little bit like more tempo to try to like keep guys on the field for longer so that Buffalo can't do like their whole hockey substitution thing where they bring in like a whole fresh unit. So that'll be like something to look out for this weekend is like how the Jaguars use tempo, because I would expect them to use it at some point besides like within 2 minutes left in each half.
Yeah, no, I saw him say that, but I don't watch hockey at all, so I didn't get the.
Neither do I.
I didn't get the comparison.
Like the guys like going over with their legs over the wall, like three guys at a time.
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel like Trevor especially has been really good at up tempo and no huddle stuff throughout his career because like that's basically like Clemson's offense. But I mean, the Jaguars, I think they're like 20th per SIS and no huddle, percentage this year. They just don't do it that often. And I like you said, probably you see an increase in it this week, but I would think like that needs to be, maybe a bigger part of their offense in general moving forward. But I mean, I think up tempo probably means a lot of Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram. When you look at like the wide receiver versus cornerback matchups this week, I mean, who do you like, to really get fed this week?
Who do you think I like?
Oh God, here we go. Let's hear it. I don't even disagree, but you've lost all credibility with me. But let's go ahead and hear it anyways.
Okay, you're not wrong about the credibility thing. But so one of my picks for later is going to be Christian Kirk under receiving yards. That's my lock of the week. Because like he's proven how like important he is to this offense, but his splits against like man coverage as opposed to zone coverage, going back to like the start of last season is crazy. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but you can just believe me that he does a lot better and is just a lot more productive against man heavy defenses. I also think that like Zay Jones being out is like a big reason that Evan Ingram and Christian Kirk have like gotten like funneled a lot more targets over the past 2 weeks. So I think like Zay coming back, even if he's like not 100% and is in like on a pitch count and stuff, I think like his return is still gonna spread out the targets a decent amount. So like Calvin is like kind of the opposite of Kirk, I'm pretty sure, where like his career splits are way better against zone than man. And a lot of like the routes that he's asked to run are actually better against zone than man. Like I almost think the Jags have kind of like set it up where Kirk is like where Lawrence looks to as a man beater, and then Ridley is where he looks to as a zone beater. So like I really think like this week, like Buffalo's defense sets up really well for Calvin Ridley more than anyone else, partly because they're so zone heavy and like drop up so many people like back. but also because like they lost Tre'Davious White to an Achilles tear last week, and I don't know any of the other cornerbacks on the roster besides Kyer Elam, and he's like not been playing. So
Where'd he go to school?
Florida.
Yeah,
That's the only reason I know. That's why I
that's
said
fair.
him. So yeah, like, and that doesn't necessarily mean that like it's not like week 1 when the Jaguars were facing like a pair of undrafted outside quarterbacks against the Colts, but like Ridley against Buffalo's outside cornerbacks on paper should be an advantage. And so like I think Ridley is going to need to have a pretty big week for the Jags to win.
That's fair. I honestly, for as much credibility as you lost in my eyes, I agree with you. I think Ridley probably sees like 10 targets this week, probably a couple of deep shots. Like I think the offense this week is going to be, like you said, a lot of running, creative running scheme, a lot of basically quick passing, get the ball out of his hands, kind of negate their front four and take the shots when you have them to Ridley. But I think on that same note, like Evan Ingram might see probably maybe close to 10 targets. Not sure if any of them will be more than 4 yards downfield, but I do think he's probably going to get fed a lot underneath. So I think those are probably the two guys. And even Zay Jones, I think you'll probably see him involved a decent bit. I agree with you. I don't think this is a Christian Kirk week. I think the Bills' best secondary player this year, now that White's not playing, is maybe Teron Johnson, who is their slot guy. He's more like an all-around type guy. Like, he's a really good blitzer, really good against the run, reminiscent of Trey Herndon, at times. But he's, he's still solid in coverage. So I agree with you. And so I think a lot of Ridley, a lot of Ingram. I mean, can I give you my hot take now, since we're on topic of the offense?
I was just going to say real quick about Ridley, like AJ Terrell, like, didn't blanket him last week, but he was like all over him. Ridley had that early touchdown, and it was like a busted zone coverage. But AJ Terrell shadowed him on like 87% of snaps. I think it was a next gen stat that it was like the highest rate that a cornerback has shadowed any receiver in any game this season was AJ Terrell on Calvin Ridley. And according to Player Profiler, Ridley still had 4 catches on 5 targets for 50 yards. And I would assume that probably includes that long touchdown. But actually, wait, 4 receptions on 5 targets. I mean, Ridley only had 2 catches last week. Anyway, the point is just that AJ Terrell was like basically on top of Ridley all of last week, and it'll be a lot easier for Ridley to get going this week.
Yeah, I really just don't think like I think Ridley is like a number 1 receiver talent, but I don't think he's the kind of guy who's going to beat press coverage like a ton. Like I really don't. And he's seen a lot of press coverage, it seems like this year. Kind of seems like that's what teams are like thinking. Like he's already not a super physical guy. Now that he's been out for a little bit, let's kind of throw him off at the line. I'm not sure how much you see that from Buffalo this week, which again would play into what you're saying.
I will say like Ridley was so freaking good against press coverage in 2020. Like teams like literally like stopped doing it and like had to play off coverage against him. So like maybe like that doesn't like kind of come back in full force, but like he just eviscerated press coverage in the past. So I wonder if like he'll just like kind of continue to get a little bit better at it with a little bit more reps this season. But what's your hot take? I didn't mean to cut you off entirely.
No, you're good. Okay, here my question for you. More touches this week. Jamal Agnew or Tank Bigsby?
Tank. I kind of like it to be a Tank week. Like, I don't know why they didn't try to get Tank going a little bit more last week. Like, if you have a 17-0 run and you're going to just run at the middle, like, why not give it to Tank? But, yeah, I'd like to see a little bit more Tank this week.
Well, he played 8 snaps last week, so it won't be hard. I was kind of like, what constitutes as a Tank week?
I guess double-digit snaps.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think like if this is like a week to be like, this is why we drafted this guy in the 3rd round, I think that's definitely it. And that also, if you want to be like, why did we draft this guy in the 2nd round? My hot take for the week, Brendan Strange, more catches this week than Dalton Kincaid. Go ahead.
Ooh.
Put that down.
I'm writing
Yeah.
that one down.
I'm
That's
not
a
going to say he does anything with them. I'm not going to say how many yardage, but there you go. Put it down.
You said more targets or more catches?
More catches.
Ooh.
Not targets. Come on, more catches. Targets is a coward man stat. You can throw a ball 50 yards over a dude's head and it can constitute as a target. Come on.
Okay,
Catches.
I like that. More catches than Kincaid. I actually think Kincaid could have like not a great week or anything, but I think he could have an okay week just because I saw a stat where he was like played a lot more 11 personnel snaps in week 4 than he had like the rest of the season and is like kind of finally taking over like a bigger role than Dawson Knox. So like I like where your head's at in terms of the take, but I'm just saying like I saw that he's getting more opportunities, so I wouldn't be entirely surprised if he has 5 catches against Chattanooga.
Where'd you get that knife, by the way? The one in my back. No, I told you my take before the show. I would not have had that take with that information, and you're just sitting on it.
No,
I recognize your game.
It's still a good take. I like it.
It is a good take.
I'm just like I'm not even trying to like go against your take. I'm just like adding information that I thought was relevant.
I don't know. I've definitely been unnecessarily triggered by the Bills are 12 doing so much 12 personnel because of Dalton Kincaid. Nichols, the new base, like cliche, head out like tweets, so that's definitely, my take is definitely rooted in, what's the word I'm looking for? Not disdain for the origins of the Kincaid takes, but it's not rooted in reality, but still, Brendan Strange, more catches than Kincaid this week. We're going to break real quick, and then we'll get into our official predictions for the game. All right, Gus. I gave you a hard time in week 3, but I got smacked last week. I was the only dude at JaguarReport who didn't pick the Jags either. And, egg on my face. Who you got this week? Tell me you're going to be courageous with it and pick the guys in teal. Who you got? Come on. How many do you have the Jags winning by? 15?
I've had the Jags scoring 20 points the entire week. And I just I can't decide how many points I think like the Bills are going to get limited to or just end up scoring. So I think there's a pretty good chance it's 31-20, but my score prediction is 24-20 Bills.
24-20 Bills. Okay. I can see that. Sorry, there's a tree being forcibly removed across the street. No, giant.
It's all right. I haven't heard any of the construction, so you're good.
Okay. I'm glad you haven't. My house shook a little bit, but I'm glad you have. So, I mean, why is it that I would think 24 points against the Josh Allen offense isn't even a bad outing by the defense, but why is that what you came to?
I just think the Jags are scoring 20 pretty much regardless because I don't think that their offense is gonna be fixed this week with the returns of Zay Jones and Cam Robinson. I think those are 2 very big deals in terms of coming back to the offense, and it'll definitely help the offense perform better and hopefully it'll look it this weekend. But I think just with Zay probably not being 100% healthy quite yet, and then also Cam Robinson and Walker Little having a little bit of a shakeup on the offensive line, plus it being just a well-coached defense and tough opponent in Buffalo, plus Ridley is that was a nice touchdown catch last week, but he hasn't really I don't think the offense is going to be a full-fledged top 5 unit until Calvin Ridley is earning the type of targets and receiving the type of defensive attention that a number 1 alpha wide receiver would. So I think the play calling for the passing game, like I said earlier, is going to remain the same, and it's going to be a lot of quick game and a lot of stuff where it seems like they don't trust the offensive line. And so I don't think they're going to be throwing the ball downfield a lot more this week. And then so that's how it came to 20 points for the Jags at least.
Yeah, no, that's definitely fair. I think that I think you said it well. Until Ridley like gets defenses to respect him enough to where they're not pressing him, that's probably like this is going to be the offense where it's at. I got Bills 30, Jaguars 17. Like
Hmm.
I think they're running into a buzzsaw this week, and yeah, it happens. I don't think it's going to be like a bad indication of Mike Caldwell's unit. They give up a ton of points or anything, but I do think it'll kind of be like a sobering type game of okay, the Jaguars like a lot of people thought they were going to leap into that Bills kind of territory this year, but at least for right now, maybe still aren't kind of there yet. I agree with you that maybe getting pressure isn't as important this week as it is other weeks because Josh Allen is going to play backyard football regardless. But I
Yeah.
also feel like the best way to force him into mistakes is by generating pressure. And I don't know if the Jags can do that with anybody other than Josh Allen right now. So I have Bills winning, 30-17. And I don't know. I think the Jags can be very ready to, come back and get back in the AFC South mix after that game because when you look at the Houston Texans schedule the rest of the year and I think they're the team to watch in the AFC South. Like they're the team, the Jags. I think like they have to keep an eye on, and that's not to be like count any week as a loss before it happens, but like just being realistic, you're probably going to have to lick your wounds after this game, and then next week is one of the bigger games of the year.
Yeah, I have a little bit more confidence, I guess, in the Jags being able to keep it close, but I'm certainly expecting the Jags to come back from London 2-3.
Yeah, and I mean the Titans and Colts play each other this weekend, so one of them will be 2-3, but one of them will be 3-2. So one of them will be at least tied for first place in the division, if not first place by itself. And the Texans play the Falcons, and I think the Texans are going to smack the Falcons. Do you watch the sound of the games at all that the Jags put out?
I try to, but I missed last week's.
There was a good one moment this week when Mike McCoy is talking to Trevor about pulling the ball and running with it. And he's just like, we're more athletic than them. You can get 5 or 6 yards easy. And it's like, that's crazy, dude. Like that the Falcons defense is like legit front seven, like kind of that unathletic. And, they're playing Calais on the edge that, teams and kind of willingly just think that. So I think Houston's bigger, more explosive, better. Obviously, your motto, better quarterback wins. So I'm with you. So
yeah, see, last week it was like the better quarterback's going to win, and then this week I feel like both the quarterbacks are like Josh Allen. Like we both agree is better than Trevor, but like they're both like up there in terms of like rankings of quarterbacks and being top tier. But like this week, I think it comes down to receivers. Like who has the bigger game between Stephon Diggs and Calvin Ridley, or not even necessarily like the bigger game because I could see like Calvin Ridley having like one more catch, but Stephon Diggs still having like a way bigger impact.
Yeah.
But like that like receiver on receiver matchup is what I'm looking for this week, just compared to quarterback versus quarterback last week.
Absolutely. Well, Gus, you got any picks for us this week? I got a couple.
Yeah, I like Christian Kirk under receiving yards is my lock of the week. Let's see what's he's at 57.5 receiving yards. I also like Ridley over 4.5 receptions. I like Travis Etienne over 64.5 rushing yards. I like Trevor Lawrence under 244 passing yards because I think he could have a pretty efficient game. But again, like I don't think like Jacksonville's offense is going to like suddenly start hitting intermediate to deep shots this week.
Yeah.
So like, Trevor could have a great game, but it's going to be like one of those Colts games, I feel like, where he has like a 90% completion percentage and it's just like a 5 ADOT. So I like Trevor's under passing yards. What about you?
I think lock the week. Prize picks, Rayshon Jenkins, 5.5 tackles, either solo or assist. I think like just the way the Bills play offense, like he's going to be racking up tackles, and I think you're going to see him in the box a lot because I think they're going to want Andre Cisco, basically playing center field and trying to nab a errant Josh Allen pass. I think Calvin Ridley, 4.5 receptions, over. Trevor Lawrence, 14.5 rushing yards. I feel like that's free money right there, man.
I like that actually. Yeah, I was thinking about Josh Allen's under receiving yards just because of what I was saying about like how they played Mahomes by like almost doing like a slow rush and just kind of keeping him in the pocket and not letting him scramble. So I think like with that similar strategy this week, I like Allen's under for rushing yards, but I also like Lawrence's over.
100%. And also like Josh Allen over half an interception. Basically, Josh Allen to throw an interception. So I like those. Josh Allen interception lock of the week.
Okay, there you go. And Josh Allen to catch it.
Yeah. And no. No. Chad Muma. Go ahead.
That's good. I like that.
Go ahead and put that down. Yeah, no. So I don't know. I think it'll be like an eye-opening game because, again, the Bills right now are, I think, are the class of the NFL. And I don't know. Even though I don't expect the Jaguars to win, if they do win, they'll get all the goodwill that they've lost, back. Like I saw the Athletic did a really good story on, Trevor and the Jaguars, bouncing back from 2021 season. And it's like, we know we can beat anybody ahead of us. And in my head, I'm like, man, they planned that story months ago. they were not preparing for the Jaguars to be, losing to the Houston Texans.
No. Yeah, dude. Because the same writer did a story on Kirk like 2 weeks ago. So he clearly like came to Jacksonville 2 months ago.
Yeah, he's a good writer. Zach, I highly recommend the piece.
I agree. It was good stories.
Yeah, Zach Kiefer, great writer with the Athletic. Highly recommend the pieces, but it definitely, I think the Jaguars, like if they want to get like the national like love back, that it seems like, God, they lost it already like quickly. They lost it quickly. Yeah. If they want to get it back, like this is the game to do it.
It's got to be a big Mike Caldwell week and Calvin Ridley week. Every week's going to be a big Calvin Ridley week, according to me.
Another hot take. If the Jaguars hold Buffalo to 20 points or fewer, Mike Caldwell is the most important coach on the staff this year, including Doug.
Oh, including Doug. I was like, he's probably already the most important, not including Doug, right?
Press.
Rouser's probably up there too.
Yeah. So
okay. What do you? I had this I had this interaction with a fan on Twitter, like that. He was like, I don't know, like maybe Jim Bob Cooter. He was the passing game coordinator last year. Now he's gone. Like, is it the Jim Bob effect that the Jaguars like?
That's right.
Pass more than 10 yards downfield.
That's right.
And like the Jim Bob effect.
And like the funny like thing is like. The offense isn't even like it's like basically the same offense as last year, just to a drastic measure, and it's been funny to see like people completely forgetting that the Jaguars did completely weird. Like, does nobody remember the Jamal Agnew play against the Titans in the red zone in week 18? I think it was. Like they've done completely weird stuff for no reason this entire time. Like this isn't new.
It would be nice to see like Calvin run some like non-Marvin Jones routes because like you said, like the offense is just what it was last year, and like I almost feel like they like just put Calvin into Marvin's old role like too directly, and they're not doing enough to like make his job easier, like not giving him enough like just number one wide receiver type routes and opportunities. Yeah.
I'm gonna start a Calvin Ridley counter for you. That's gonna be the next bit. Calvin Ridley counter. Yeah.
I'm interested. Do you think we should start calling Walker Little the Jacksonville Jaguars as left guard instead of left tackle? Like, just in general. Like, because I feel like if we're assuming Anton Harrison is the right tackle and Cam Robinson isn't going to leave anytime soon, like, is Walker Little going to be there a long time left guard?
Yeah, I think so. I was like trying to understand the
yeah. Just because like
whatever you want,
like he's a tackle that's like moving inside the guard, but like I think it's fair to like just start thinking of him as like a guard now that can move outside to tackle.
Call him offensive lineman Walker Little. Offensive lineman Walker Little started 4 games at left tackle and however many games at left guard in 2023.
I guess I'm just saying like I expect the vast majority of his future starts to come at left guard.
This year I agree, and I think if you're his agent, you're loving like him basically left tackle, left guard, has the ability to play right tackle because like they literally have so much like they can bring to the table in terms of negotiations. Even if it's not with the Jaguars, like with any team, like if he plays well at left guard, like a super young, like cheap guy can start at left tackle and left guard. Like that's an insane player to have on your roster.
Totally. That was another thing Press said during the press conferences this week was like
security blanket.
That's invaluable.
Yeah. Walker Little is the Jaguars' heated blanket.
I like that.
He is. He's always there for them. You got anything else for us this week, Gus?
No, I don't think I had a hot take, but no.
Au contraire. You need to give us some kind of take. It doesn't even have to be hot.
I don't like doing this thing where I try to think of one and I can't, and then I just force one.
I know you don't. So what is it? You know what? Don't, because I see your heart's not in it.
I can't think of anything outside of Calvin Ridley is my problem.
You can't even give me a Gabe Davis 200 yards. Like, all right, I want you to take the weekend off.
All right, Latavius Murray will have.
No, stop.
Yeah, see, like, I don't want to do this. I'm uncomfortable.
Stop. Yeah, take the weekend off, work on your takesmanship, and we'll come back to it next week.
See, I'm not the takesman that you are, John. I got a little bit.
No, I tell you to give me a hot take. The first words out of your mouth are Latavius Murray. God. All right. On that note, you got anything else for us, Gus?
No, no.
Yeah. No.
I'll talk to you Monday.
All right. Thank you guys for joining us. We'll be back on Monday to recap Jaguars versus the Bills. Until then, have a good weekend, and we'll see you next time.